Have you ever been introduced to the term aperture? It is one of the three pillars of photography, the other two being ISO, which is the sensitivity of your camera's sensor, and the third pillar being shutter speed. Now, aperture either adds a dimension to a photograph by blurring the background or magically brings everything into focus. It is through this lens the future of the BVI financial services landscape and the economy, broadly speaking, was assessed over the next 5 to 10 years at the 2016 BVI Business Outlook Conference. Sean Rose has more.
Broadening the aperture, the space surrounding the future of the BVI financial services sector, especially in light of the recently released McKinsey report, was one of the key topics discussed at BVI Outlook 2016. A panel discussion moderated by Dawn Smith at BVI Finance Commission also raised a number of key issues relative to the future of the financial services sector here in the Virgin Islands. CEO at LGS Associates, Mrs. Lorna Smith, called for clarity and the need for urgency in lowering the level of bureaucracy in government here in BVI. Smith was frank in her contribution and left no holds barred on the future of financial services and other aspects of the local economy. She says there are too many arbitrary issues stagnating growth in financial services and other sectors of the BVI economy.
And we need to have less bureaucracy in government. We talk about it, we come here every year, Russell, and we talk about it, and we still have more and more bureaucracy. I had an example only last week where a person working in one of our leading accounting and financial services firms nearly left the country, not because of him and his work permit, but because of his wife and his child. There was some silly regulation. It wasn't even a regulation, it was an arbitrary point made. And the wife said, I am leaving, and the husband said, well, I have to go too.
He has to. He has to go, absolutely.
You know, we have to stop this level of arbitrariness in government and get serious. I have lived in Hong Kong. I have lived in London. I have lived in several places all over the world. I've lived in the United States, and I have never been subjected to the level of arbitrariness that is in the British Virgin Islands government. It has to stop, and the leaders are here, and the leaders need to make the point to the persons who work for them, that they have to stop it.
Labor and immigration reform have been identified by the McKinsey report as critical areas in shaping the future of BVI financial services. Gerard Ferrara QC says it's too difficult to do business in BVI and called for changes at the level of government policy in keeping with the recommendations of the McKinsey study.
We need really, as I said, to move to a culture of facilitation. But we must know what we are to facilitate. And in order for us to know what we are to facilitate, it's not just simply a matter of having laws in place, but these things must be underpinned by sound government policy that is known. And once policy is known, you begin to create certainty. I mean, I might not like the policy, and the certainty for me might be that I'm not going to get involved. But if I'm going to get involved, it's important for me to have that level of certainty, because especially if I'm going to be investing capital in what I'm doing and I'm putting my capital at risk. The worst thing you want to have happen to you from an investor point of view or from a business point of view is where the unknown hits you. Things that were not brought to your attention, or even things that did not exist at the time when you made your decision to invest, that now adversely affect your investment, and perhaps you would not have made that decision or not have invested in the way in which you did had you known those things. Those sort of unwritten things that pop up from time to time. We must minimize this to a large extent, reduce bureaucracy. We're not going to eliminate bureaucracy ever. You know, it's going to be
It's
part
like
of our
taxes.
life. It's just going to be there. But these are some of the things that we need to address, so that in order for us to bring our public service or whatever along, the members of the public service, they must understand and know the policy, and the policy must be articulated and publicly known to all concerned, so that, you know, everyone can step in line, so to speak.
Governor John Duncan and Premier Dr. Orlando Smith were both present for the morning session of BVI Outlook 2016, which zeroed in on financial services. The governor disclosed that he too has been privy to cases where expatriates have been affected by arbitrary issues.
The great thing about the McKinsey report is it provides structure and focus, and I look forward to reading Jerry's committee's report. I think you can take it as read that we're all on the same page in this room. We want to move forward, we want that flexibility. But as Jerry also said, you're also looking at the three key members of the National Security Council. And we have to, between us, manage the security aspects, as you said, of opening up the territory, facilitating all those new things that we should be doing, such as, you know, modeling ESTAs, for example. If you go to the United States, UK citizen, you just go online, you do it, it's done. But that has to be balanced with security, and we've been having that conversation in the 16 months that I've been here. We've also conscious, with respect to the person who spoke from the back of the room, the problem of customer service. And I've done some mystery shopping by turning up at immigration and not telling anybody who I am in the early days. And it wasn't good enough. And I have had the head of immigration in my office the following day to explain that that's not going to happen like that again. So we're conscious of the problems and the challenges. And as I say, I think McKinsey and this debate have given us a sort of focus that we as decision makers need in order to go to the place that all of us want to get to.
Premier Smith responded to the many concerns raised and gave a commitment to remove the labor and immigration barriers that stagnate growth in the local economy.
I know that Mr. Ferrara, the Honorable, Your Excellency, I don't know what to call him, has worked very hard with the various sectors and it made a draft report. I'm actually awaiting a cabinet paper so it can be taken to cabinet. It's taken a little while to get to me, but I'm going to ask that it be speeded up. But I've just had a word with the Minister of Labor, and we have agreed that the Minister of Labor and the Minister of Immigration will get together before this week is out with the respective heads of immigration and labor and review that proposal so we can sort it out once and for all.
The final McKinsey report on building on a thriving and sustainable financial services sector in the BVI was released in April of 2015. Given the number of suggestions raised, the many concerns highlighted, it would be interesting to see going forward how soon and with what level of seriousness many of the ideas would actually be taken into the implementation stage, all with a view to strengthening the BVI financial services sector. Sean Rose, live from Scrub Island for BVI Business Outlook 2016 for JTV News.